Welcome to ATB-TV. I'm Darren Dance here with the great Peter Morganti. Obviously looking for a few free pots at the Royal Meredith Hotel. Damien, he's got your hat on. Looks a bit shabby, might need a new one. And today we have the great man from Flemington, the great man, Saab Hasan. Welcome to ATB-TV, mate.
Thanks for having me, Darren. Peter?
No worries, Saab.
Yep. We haven't seen you for a while. You're looking pretty sharp there.
Yeah, well, I've been pretty busy setting up to bilk and looking after Flemington, riding work and trying to keep ATB's horses going.
Well, you're not doing too bad a job. All right, Pete, I'm going to hand over to you for question number one.
Righto, Saab Hasan. The journey from a little boy that probably dreamt, I don't know if you dreamt about horses when you were a little boy, but to where you are now at Flemington, and obviously you're evolving out to a farm now. Just give us a bit of a snapshot of how you've become a horse trainer.
Well, basically, I was born in a place called Cyprus, which is a small island. It's probably smaller than Tassie. And I was on a farm, brought up on a farm. Granddad was fantastic with animals, and he taught me a little bit about animals and how to read them and so forth. And he always used to say to me, Saab, you know, what do you want to do when you get older? You should always think about it, you know. He was a visionary, always visioned the future. So I just used to daydream and think, well, what am I going to be? And I'd be 3 or 4 year old, Pete. And one day I just felt, you know what, I'd just really love to train horses. So I went to Granddad and said, Granddad, I want to be a horse trainer. And he said, well, where's that come from, son? There's 2 donkeys in Cyprus. That's how my journey started. But I said, but Granddad, you told me to look within my heart, and that's what my heart tells me. So he says, well, always follow your dreams. And 12 months after that, he put me on a plane and sent me to Melbourne, because the war had finished in Cyprus, but he felt that the economy was going to go downhill, and got us out of there so that we can have a chance. And sure enough, I migrated to Flemington, landed in the heart of the Melbourne Cup, not knowing anything about Melbourne Cup or horses, and that's how my journey started, Pete.
There you go. Well, you got to Flemington. How did it all evolve there? What age were you when you got to Melbourne?
I was 5 when I got to Melbourne, or just about turning 5.
So it's probably another 10 years before you probably were mucking out boxes, or however it all evolved.
Correct. I was nearly, it's spot on, Pete. I was nearly 15. I was probably a month off turning 15, and I couldn't get a job at the stable because I had no background in racing, and I had no experience in racing, or didn't know anybody. So I felt, well, the only way to get out there is to knock on everyone's door. So I just kept knocking and knocking and knocking. I think I drove everyone crazy. And everyone kept saying, go to the stable next door, go to the stable next door, go to the stable next door. And I kept doing that. And then the last stable I went to was Mick Surkey's, and there was no next door. He was out riding track work. So I thought, well, bugger it, I'll just pick up a pitchfork and I'll just start working. And Mick Surkey come in from riding track work and said, well, what are you doing, mate? And I said, I'm working. I'm your new worker. So I pretty much hired myself, and he gave me a go. He said, well, geez, if you're that keen, he said, you can bloody start mucking out box 1 and finish at box 15. So, but he said, but turn the pitchfork the other way because you'll poke your eye out. You know? So, and that's how I started. So I had to use a little bit of force to get in, and it's pretty difficult when you've got no background or don't know anyone in racing. And that's been my motto, just, you know, if you want something, just go and get it. Don't wait for anyone to give it to you.
Well, from Mick Surkey to, well, we'll just close it to the Flemington setup you got now. What are those years and how did they all unfold?
I worked with horses for 18 years. In that time, I worked for Bart Cummings, David Hayes, which was Colin at the time. They were just transitioning. And I did a little bit with Johnny Sadler, who's a very astute man. And I felt that was imperative because from a business point of view, I had to learn some business skills and how to deal with high-profile owners like Darren Dance. You know, so it held me in good stead, basically, to see how a large operation worked. I didn't like it. I didn't like the large operations. I like to be hands-on. I like to read my animals and They give me a sense of feeling, and that's how we've always trained our horses. Now that can be a negative, Pete, because you can only do that. You can only have one person at one place. You can't split me in fours and have me here and have me there and have me at every race meet. And so I've had to learn the last 6 months how to delegate and how to start trusting people. And on top of that, I've taken a lot of it from Darren, who's been very, very helpful, how to run a proper business. And this is the first Zoom meeting I've ever done. You hear of Zoom, but yeah, so I've probably just been left behind on technology a little bit. But I think once we finally restructure, you know, the good communication skills and doing things like this and getting our brand out there and getting our name out there, I think then people can see what we're all about, or exactly what we're all about.
Yep, excellent. I'll hand on to Darren now, and he can maybe delve into a bit more about the stable setups.
So when did you actually take out a trainer's license, and have you always been based at Flemington?
I have. Darren, I went straight to the top. I felt, well, I've been at Flemington for 18 years, done the apprenticeship. It was back in 2004, which was 16 years ago, and I applied for a license there and pretty much wasn't told no, but wasn't told yes either. So I was in a bit of a limbo, and there was a lot of lot of paperwork that had to go under the table before they could take me seriously. And again, I was self-backed, didn't have anyone to sort of to back me. I owned half a dozen horses, and I had a little business on the side, and I had to throw everything that I had into the business. And then they wanted to knock me back because they said I had no boxes, but they didn't know that I was prepared, because I went and hired some boxes up the top of the hill next to Cummings's, and I'd hired them for about 3 months, but I had no horses in there. Just used to go there and visit the stables, waiting for that opportunity when they said no, because you got no boxes at Flemington. I said, well, I have. I've got 17 boxes here. And that's how it all started. So, again, I adopted that theory that, you know, if I want something, I'm just going to get it. I'm not going to take no for an answer. My record's excellent as far as we've never had a positive or gone close to having a positive. So we've never ever cheated, no matter how bad our bank balance is or how tough we might be doing it. It's always been about the animal, and it's always been about integrity of racing. So that's one thing I can absolutely hold my head up high and say that unless there's a complete mistake or a lack of communication or something that just goes wrong in our stable, we will never get a positive. That's just because we just don't give our horses anything that we're not supposed to.
Now, I've known you for a while. I think one day, I think the first day we had a conversation, we might have been at our Racecourse, and you were strapping a horse, and you always been a bit cheeky in the mounting yard, having a crack at me. When are you going to give me a horse? When are you going to give me a horse? What do you think of me horse? And I remember that day you said to me, what do you think of me horse? And I said, it looks best in the yard. I think it'll win, and it won. You remember that day?
I do. It was a horse called Barbara's Joy, actually, by Testarossa. And yeah, anyway, keep going.
So then sort of got talking a bit, and I think we sent you a bad horse, a pretty ordinary horse there to start with. And then when Darren Weir went on holidays, some of the owners had a good relationship with you and were pretty impressed with you.
Yeah.
Even though the horse was no good. I remember the day I rang you and I said, I'm going to give you a horse. It's probably the best horse you're going to have since Shoreham.
Yeah, you did, actually.
I said, I'm not going to tell you the name of it. And I think I drove you mad, and then I think Pete let the cat out of the bag in the end.
As you were talking to me, I was texting Pete, what's the horse he's sending me for my records? And he told me.
Yeah.
So
that's how that started.
Yeah.
So serious. Well, I'm sure Pete will talk about Shoreham, but Serious Suspect, like, you know, you get a horse off someone like Darren Weir, who's a, you know, gun trainer, great affinity with horses. You know, you're on a hiding to nothing really in a lot of ways, aren't you? But you've done a fantastic job with this horse. Firstly, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Serious Suspect and some of the challenges you've had along the way, and how you describe that horse, you know.
Serious Suspect is a beautiful, beautiful horse to work with. Despite all the feedback that we had that he was a hard horse to handle. He is just so kind, and I'm certain you've seen that on your farm. He's a people's person. He just loves humans. He just loves to put his head down for cuddles. Serious Suspect was very electric when we got him. Maybe not the right word to use. But he was a very hot horse. You couldn't move on him in track work. He'd be very keen. And I think that was because he was in a big environment and it just didn't probably 100% suit him. Now, I have no doubt that you just never gave me Serious Suspect because you like me. I thought you gave me Serious Suspect because you obviously had a good opinion of the horse and you felt that that hands-on approach and a little bit that I've described just previously with our background and how we go about our horses and the kindness, I felt that you thought maybe we could get the best out of him. And credit to you because you're not a bad judge. You've been around long enough, and that's starting to show. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about Serious Suspect. He can bloody gallop. Will he run 1400? Yes. Will I try him again 1400? Not yet. He gets to the 1400 metre mark and everything I've taught him is out the window. He just wants to run 10, 10, 10, 10 for the first 600 metres and he brings himself unstuck. And that's not good for the horse. That's not good for us. That's not good for the owners. So for that reason alone, Pete, we're purely keeping him to sprinting races, 1200 metres. We're keeping him nice and fresh. We're keeping him happy. He's a horse that excretes a lot of red cells. His red cells do drop when he races. His hemoglobin does drop when he races. And this is his blood profile. His potassium levels and salt levels all drop. So he's a horse that we have to gradually build up again. I'm not saying he's not a horse that won't back up. We've got to be mindful of where we're travelling. Got to be mindful of how often we race him. And we've got to be mindful of the fact that when he has a run, he actually has 2 runs. He puts in 150%. So Serious Suspect is a very, very genuine horse, and I can't ask for any more than that. And there's a bloody good win in Serious Suspect. He showed out the other day around 183 and got beat. Now, okay, we'll aided by a tailwind. But 183, you guys know, you don't run much quicker. You know, you're talking, that is serious time. But the horse is just so happy. We've got the key to him. We don't try and travel him too much. We just take him away every couple of weeks to maybe track gallop at Moonee Valley. We've also got the beach. Right, we all got the beach, believe it or not. I mean, we're only 20 minutes from Altona Beach. We got our cars, our trucks. We're all set up. We've got all our jockeys so that we can put a little bit of time if the weather gets hot and he's getting a little bit anxious in track work. We can just break his routine up and send him to the beach. So, having said all that, I set him specifically for this for the January 1st race, which is called the
Standish.
That race we're running? Standish, yeah. So I've set him for that race, and the plan was to have a cracking run first up in our own backyard, where we don't have to travel too far, and look after the horse, and then give him a whole week just to recover, full recovery. Oh, he's recovered all right. He had 2 of the Dolphins go past him the other day, and he just said, "No, you're not going past me." Picked the bit up and wanted to just charge past him. So he's just an animal as far as he wants to win. He's got the will to win. He's got the tiger. Is he a Group 1 horse? I'm not saying he's not. But is he a listed horse? Yes. Could he win a Group 3? Absolutely. So I think it's about gradually giving him that opportunity to start winning again. And once we got him rock hard fit, we get him to the Standish, it's going to take a good horse to beat him, in my opinion, if he gets the conditions to suit. Now, there's really nothing suitable for the horse for his second up prep, so we're going to probably take him to Pakenham Cup Day. It's a beautiful track, Pakenham, long straight. He'll be allowed to just dictate in front, do his own thing, and stay in the zone. And Darren made a comment on the weekend, which was very true. He said, "I've never ever seen a horse track so tractable, or race so tractable in his races," and that is correct. And that's because the horse is now just focusing on his work and not focusing on everything else around him, because he knows that everything around him is so content with and happy. So now the horse is just putting every energy into his racing. And being out of a Galileo mare, I think we're only starting to see the best in him now. This might be his best prep. That's what I'm tipping.
Well, that was a nice short answer. Am I going to ask another question? What I want to know now, tell us about the farm. You've got this little farm happening, or big farm happening up there in the Gambie-Seymour area. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, I'm at a place called Tabilk, Avenel. I'll keep it sweet. We're on 455 acres. It's an old stud farm. We've got diamond mesh fencing, so it's safe for our horses to go out during the day and have a break. Got a nice 8-horse walker. It's not really set up for training just yet, Baron, but I built a 1,400 metre sand track. It's just finished 2 weeks ago, and we're starting to construct the grass track, which will be up and running in 6 to 12 months. That'll be about 1,500 metres on the outside. We've got run and rails going in. We haven't built a swimming pool yet, but we are looking at that next year. It's all in our budget. And we're pretty much dabbling in a couple of brood mares, because the guy that I've gone in partnership with, he owns the farm, and he's got a few brood mares, so we're following them down as loyalty to him for giving us the opportunity to be here. And the best part about here is I can ride them when I'm happy with them, send them down to Flemington, keep my eye on them. So it breaks up routines. It gives me another dimension. I don't have to send horses to the pre-trainers anymore. I can do them here. Getting staff's been hard. It's been difficult, especially getting the right staff. But, you know, once COVID's over, I think we're back on track.
Peter?
Just on staff, Saab, obviously you've mentioned, and we've seen it, you're very hands-on, and a lot of that throwing trust to stable hands back at Flemington when you're up at the farm. Who have you got that's your number one man there, or number one woman it might be?
No, it's a good question. Doc Watson has been in the industry for about 38 years, 40 years. He was second foreman at Bart Cummings's behind Reggie Fleming. He strapped Melbourne Cup winners. He's got good attention to detail, a very experienced person. So that's the sort of people that I need. The young kid that I took from school about 7.5 years ago, Joseph Cicluna, he's developed into probably one of the best strappers I've seen. He's very tentative. He'll give me full feedback at the races. Like, for example, our horse pissed 2 or 3 times, or it's too hot, I bet to hose it 4 times, I bet to keep it walking. The colour of its urine was X amount. And that tells us a lot about the horse, whether we have the horse spot on or not. Whether it's got too much protein in its diet, whether it might need to run, or it's pulled up with a thumps, it's pulled up with heart arrhythmia. So we pick all these things up. We don't rely on vets. So he's a good kid there. And then I've got Johnny Hughes, who him and I have been riding together for 30 years. He was apprenticed to Tommy Hughes. He's not related, but he's apprenticed to him. He comes in 4 times a week and hops on a few horses, and if he hops on one, says it's spot on, it's spot on. So he's a good judge, and there's more experience there. Then I've got a young kid called Paul Fung. He's a little Asian kid. He was apprenticed to Ray Lawson. He's been riding horse for 30 years. And I've got Lee Smith, who's a very, very, very good jockey, very kind jockey. And he shoots some of them horses, especially our mares, or even some of our colts that might be a little bit soft and don't need you to give them a whack or two. He's perfect for them. He just goes with them. He's kind, and he's had years of experience. Then you've got Michaela, who's been in the game for 10 years, who's just joined us as well. So we haven't got anyone that we're taking off the street and saying, here, there's a horse, do this with it. You actually got everybody that's employed has been hand-selected and hand-picked for a reason. Yeah. And that reason is because it needs to be done my way, or we're not going to get results.
Yeah.
We've only got a small operation at Flemington. We've only got like probably 12 horses. We accommodate 14, 15 max, right? We are looking at possibly slightly changing that to 18 or 20 in the future. But at the moment, it's plenty of work because we hand walk everything. We don't put things on walkers at Flemington. We hand walk everything. We take them to the beach. They swim. They go for a 20-minute pick in the mornings, 30-minute pick in the afternoons. So all our time spent on our animals, and that's why you have horses like Sirius, boom, can gallop, and now all of a sudden running up to his top.
Yeah. So plenty of trust in the staff you got in place. Just you personally with a horse, any preference to a type of horse you'd like to train? Now, you've had a very good horse in Shoreham. That's why I asked the question. Chalk and cheese, you got Shoreham, stay all day, and you got Sirius that runs with, like the wind. Any preference to a sprinter or a stayer?
I haven't, but I love stayers. I really love stayers because I think you got to do a lot more work with them, a lot more planning. Anyone can train a sprinter. Sprinters pretty much, they're very easy.
Don't say that, Saab. Don't say that.
Well, they can. That's honesty.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got to know your basics. Of course, as I've described, Sirius Suspect, he lacks in potassium, he lacks in magnesium. So all these things I know about the horse already. His coat may not be right, so we've got to change a few things around. So if he doesn't get his correct hemoglobin levels and his red cell counts aren't right, he's not going to run well. He's going to run flat. But I love me stayers because I think once you get past the mile and beyond, then it shows you who the best prepared horse is and the best horse is and the best trainer is.
Yeah.
And I love me derbies and I love me Melbourne Cups, and that's what I strive to win. That's what I'm going to aim at. Staying horses take time. Owners have to be patient, so therefore they cost a little bit more. But having said that, you can pick them up for cheaper at the sales. So you got to weigh that up. But to answer that question, mate, you can't win a Golden Slip or a Blue Diamond in a Melbourne Cup. You can't do it. It's too hard. So if you're going to try and win a Golden Slip and Blue Diamond, forget about stayers. Obviously, it takes a freak of a horse to go on and win you the Cox Plate, and then perhaps win you the Caulfield Cup or the Melbourne Cup. So for me, stayers all day, every day.
Yep.
Not that I don't love Sirius, but I love stayers.
Just with Shoreham, obviously, there was a stage there where he went north. I was at Caulfield. You got him back, and the day you won at Caulfield, I think it was a huge price. Not sure whether Daniel Moore might have rode him.
126 to 1.
Yeah. That must have been so satisfying when you got him back and to win again with him.
It was, because he was a horse that never should have left our stables, and we understand that owners can move horses on. That happens, and I'm the first to cop it sweet. I would rather, if owners aren't happy with our services that we're providing, or if they believe that we haven't looked after their horse well, I would rather them go elsewhere, because you don't want an unhappy customer, But that wasn't the case with Shoreham. With the case with Shoreham, they agreed to sell me the horse because they wanted to get out of him, and then they sold him behind my back to somebody else. So it was a dirty thing to do. We had an agreement in place, and then before I know it, a float picks the horse up and takes him away. And here's a horse that I purchased for $60,000 myself for these one family members. He won over $500,000 for him. No one to sell him, that was fine. And I said, well, name your price, what you want for the horse. We agreed with the price, we shook on it. 48 hours later, another truck company's picking him up, and he's going to Brisbane. So it was pretty hard to swallow, and he was my best mate. I love the horse. So I never said goodbye to him. I said, I'll see you later. So I waited 2 years, because it was actually Shoreham had a blood disorder no one knew about. It took me 12 months to identify the blood disorder. And we had to give him a particular drug that would help this blood disorder. And there was no way knowing the horse was going to fight with another trainer. So I waited 2 years, and I rang the owner up and said, look, I wish to purchase this horse back off you. And he asked me why. And like an idiot, I was honest with him. He's got a blood disorder. You don't know what to give him, and I'll fix him. So he spoke to his trainer, who he'd employed to train all his horses. He actually worked for him for wages, so it made no difference to the trainer. And the trainer said, look, you'd be crazy not to give the horse back to Saab. And I purchased half of the horse back and made him sign an indemnity form to say that should he retire racing, he's mine, not the touch. So he's on my farm now. He's fatter than me, and he's living his dream. But was very satisfying to win 2 city races with him, particularly to win a group race as a rising 9-year-old and run a personal best. It was very satisfying.
I loved the interview. I think it was with Shane Anderson, obviously a man that likes to have $5 each way. I think you said, if I owe you $2, Bob, or $10 or 20, come and see me now while I've still got the coin. Love that honesty, and it was good fun.
Yeah, because we owned half of him, and it really helped us pay some bills. And as everyone knows, it's a tough game, and all your owners have been fantastic. Like they're fantastic players. They're always ringing up and saying thank you when the horse runs third. You know, I think how many 18 owners and serious suspect. I must have had 36 text messages just to say well done. You know, we're so proud of the horse and so happy with what you've done. And I haven't even won a race on Tuesday for you. You know, but so everyone in that syndicate particularly, they're just wonderful owners, and we're lucky to have them aboard SH Racing.
Yep. Back to you, Darren. We've got about 8 minutes, and you can wrap it up.
I guess the thing I wanted to ask you about is, as a trainer, what do you think it is about, apart from the individual care and that, what is it you look for in a horse when you go to the sales, and how long before you got a horse in work before you actually can work out whether that horse is any good or not?
They're all different. You've heard that saying. They're all individuals. You've heard that saying. I like an athletic horse. I like a horse that walks clean and walks well. I'm not particularly worried if they're turned in, turned out, offset, not offset. I don't really care what they're by or what they're out of initially. I like to just look at the horse as an individual, just as what they are. I don't like to just brand them straight away. If they walk really well and they've got a nice kind eye and they've got a good head.
What does walk really well mean in layman's term?
Well, in layman's term is, and this might be not the best example, but Usain Bolt. Have you ever seen Usain Bolt walk? He's such a casual, relaxed dude, right? And normally them types of horses that are like that can bloody run. That's how I bought Widgie Turf. Widgie Turf was just a beautiful, relaxed, free-flowing horse, and just had a little bit of pizzazz about him when he walked. Just knew he was a bit special. So I picked that up in him, and I purchased him for $4,500. But then I like to have a look at them, what they're by, and see if I can identify. It's thrown to the Galileo side of things. Oh, this looks like its brother's cousin, or because we've all got a little bit of knowledge in racing, or we've all been around long enough to perhaps maybe say, oh, it's thrown to the Rory's Jester line or whatever. So that's the second thing I look at. And then obviously the budget. Many times have I been an underbidder on a nice horse because our owners might have set a budget of say 20 or 30,000 and the horse has gone for 40. It's gone and won a derby. I was the underbidder to a horse called Road to Success by Dolphin Street that won a Blue Diamond. But no good talking about what could have been. You've got to, when you go to the sales, you've got to, if you haven't got the back end, you're in trouble, Darren, as you know. So that's what I try and look for in that particular horse. But I like athletic horses, and I like horses that aren't just going to be short, sharp sprinters. I like horses that are going to be able to perhaps develop and keep getting better and better and better. That's why I like horses like Serious Suspect. Even though he's a sprinter, I reckon he's a sprinter miler, or could be a miler. But he's the same. He's an athletic horse. He's a sprinter, but he's so athletic. You watch him walk. He's just a beautiful. You can't keep up with him. Shoreham was the same. He's tiny. Couldn't keep up with him.
How long did you have Shoreham before you knew it could really gallop?
Well, he's probably a bad example, right? Because I bought him off Lloyd. I had him for 6 weeks, and then he won at Flemington for me. But it will genuinely, if you buy a horse as a yearling, to answer your last question, you need at least 2 years. You need at least 2 years before you can say, yeah, this horse can gallop or not. I hear a lot of people, a lot of breakers, oh, this is the best thing I've ever broken in. I don't believe in all that. I think it's a load of garbage. How do you know in a round roll how a good horse is going to be, for God's sake? There's so many variables, you know. Yeah, they might have broken in good, and that's a great sign, you know. She's got class broking grade. Beautiful. We got good expectations for her. And it's great that everything progresses well. But you don't know. You don't know until they have, I reckon, at least 3 or 4 preps. You won't know. And that could take 15 months to 2 years.
Some trainers still don't know Saab that we've seen along the lines.
Well, sometimes, look, I'll be honest, trainers make a lot of mistakes, you know, and that's why if you've got too many horses in work, that you can't give every horse 1,000,000%. I mean, you're supposed to give every horse 100%, but if you've got 80, 90, 100, 200 horses in work, you can't do it. And I'm actually against trainers training more than 40, 60 horses. That's just my personal belief. Because as a trainer, I'm given a license, and my job is to go over. If I'm training 40 horses, it's my job to go through every single horse and set a program for that horse and make sure I get to know every single horse individually. And if I've got 200, 300, 400, 800 horses in work, how in the hell am I going to do that? How am I going to achieve that? I'm just going to monopolise the market and just keep hiring good people, but I'm going to miss things. And my job as a trainer is to get the absolute best out of my animal.
3 minutes, Darren.
Yeah, watch it. Well, before I wrap it up, Saab, obviously we've got Serious Suspect there. We've got She's Got Class there, who's a young filly, and you'll be getting Serious Suspect's little sister by press statement.
She's a cracker, Darren. She's a really nice filly.
I'm sure you'll be looking forward when you come up next week to the farm just to have a look at her, how she's developed and grown out. Yep. And if there's anyone out there watching this, there are shares involved, some shares in that filly from some of the owners who will trade down. So Saab will be training that press statement filly. So if anyone wants to get involved,
just on that, Darren, she's really catches my eye. Like, I've looked at a lot of the serious Mrs. foals and I've taken an interest, and she's probably the nicest. So she really she's my style of horse.
Well, wrapping up, Saab. Look, really appreciate you coming on today, and congratulations on your first Zoom meeting. I think it's only a matter of time before you end up on Warner Brothers. You've got a great head for TV. Doing a great job. Good fun to be involved with. Really have enjoyed the experience with SH Racing. It's been great fun. You've been very honest, very forthcoming. You like to get the owners involved. You like to have a lot of discussion about what we're doing right and what we're not doing right. I certainly enjoyed the discussions, and we don't always agree, but that's fair. But I think at the end of it, we always come out with the right idea. And I think we're going to have horses with you for a long time to come. And congratulations on that run Tuesday. Yeah, you ran third. He ran 108 and change. But what I liked about him was just the way he done it. He settled, he relaxed. And I suppose, just signing off, in a lot of ways, I'm sad to see Brad Rawiller go to Perth. But I think for Brad, it's the right move. But you and I are going to probably miss him, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Look, I've used him on a lot of our horses. We've had good success together, and he's played a good part in Sirius's success. But, he's struggling in weight-wise and all that. It's not good for his health. He looked horrible the other day, and I really felt for him. And, at the end of the day, he's a human being. So no one needs to, go through that much pain. And it could be dangerous. He could have a lapse in concentration, or he could go down, But
look, I think just finally, have you got a winner for us? Is there one around the corner that we can have our dollar on?
Well, I tipped you the Melbourne Cup winner, but you never put it up.
Please.
Look, I've got one in the second last today. She'll run well. She's an ex-Robbie Griffiths filly. She probably wants the jar out of the ground. It may be a little bit too firm for her. If they upgrade the track, I'll be scratching. But as soon as she gets to a benchmark 58, she'll be winning. A horse called Make Mine Hennessy. And I've got a little horse called Cordon, whose form's horrible, but he can gallop. And he's just taken 3.5 years to put it all together. So out of our